All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Wayne's World Garage. How come Wayno hasn't put out any videos lately? Well, I've been in head block H-E-L-L. I don't know if I can say it on the internet. I think you can. Head block hell lately. As I was warned by frickin' Jeep, this is a bigger project than it sounds, and he's exactly right. And it didn't help, but I started off with free angle iron. So this is 3/8 inch thick. That's what these head blocks are made of. Except this, when I got it, came up 7 inches, and this came in like 4 inches. So using this carbide skill saw, actually, circular saw, we cut these guys off. Actually, Phil and Alan helped do that. And then we had to machine them so they're perfectly flat. That took some time. Cut the insides to 1.5 inches to make it look like the old ones, and then drill some holes. So I've been cutting, drilling, welding, and machining steel in the past 2 weeks. And it's been a big project, but we continue to learn. So, I may have taken a short bus to school, but one of the things is, especially with welding, is learn to make little tools to help you out. So what I did, this is a space for the gear that moves the knees. That's called the rack. Thanks, Pete, for telling me that, like the rack and pinion. Let me show you what the rack gear looks like. This is the rack gear, and it probably weighs 20 pounds, or I bet you it's more than that, and it's all worn out, but I did weld it and machine it so it's flat, and it has a little bit more material. When we pull when we pull the old ones out for the other 2 knees and 3 knees, I'll have to do the same thing. In the meantime, what I'm going to do is finish welding these bad boys together. So what we did, we got a little bit smarter here. Shocking, isn't it? Yes. And to get smarter, what we ended up doing is the drive gear goes right through here. Let me show you that. I don't know if they call this the pinion gear or not, but the pinion gear goes through here, okay? And it's on its little drive shaft, and it moves all of these at the same time. That's kind of cool, actually. And this is not in bad shape. But what happens, the way this works, is they've got this little piece of cast iron, part number 1216 Charlie from Frick, and it sits up here, or something like that. I think it goes the other way. I don't know what it does, but it sits up here. And what happens is this adjusts the drive shaft for the pinion gear, okay? So this hole here is like 1 3/4. This hole here is 2-inch holes. There's some critical dimensions here. To get this right, though, what we did originally is that we tried drilling and tapping these holes. Couldn't get them straight, even when tapping them with a really high quality. Even when tapping them on a drill press, we couldn't get those holes straight, which is kind of strange. But we got like 1 out of every 4 holes straight. So what you did is we just made them bigger to 5/8, and I used all thread. Well, it turns out all thread's a great solution, because with the all thread, I could easily adjust this spacing. And this spacing here is critical, because that depends on how tight I am against my pinion gear, or my rack gear. So that's the story. Now, what else is here that's a big deal? If you look down on here, you will see, let me get a better shot of this guy. You will see this is all machined in here, okay? And that's because the way the rack is built, you'll see, I'll show it to you again. The way the rack is built, it rides in here, and this is one of the things that was worn out on ours. So that's all machined in about 350 thousandths of an inch, and it's machined flat. The way the rack is, the rack gear is set up. Hopefully we're not making, this is the way the rack gear is set up. You see this, it comes up about 1/4 inch, in about 1/4 inch. And when I say about, I know what the numbers are. There's really good numbers for this stuff to make it work. But the problem we have is as follows. There's that 2 problems, 3 problems, 4 problems. So while this sounds like it's all fun and games and easy to do, it kind of is. There's a couple of problems here which make this very, very difficult, and they are the following. The steel I got free, thank you so much for my buds at L.R. Wilson for donating it to us, has been galvanized, hot dip galvanized. It means it's got zinc on it. Welding zinc is not fun. It contaminates the welds. It's a mess. Additionally, it's poisonous. You don't want to be breathing it. So that's the problem. We'll just grind it off. Well, we do grind it off, but the problem is the grindstone gets contaminated, and then zinc ends up on the steel and you get contaminated welds. So Phil spent a lot of time grinding these welds off. They still end up being contaminated. And when you hit it with the MIG gun or something like that, it ends up purple gassing and all sorts of nastiness coming out of it and smoke, and it's horrible. The other issue is the milling machine. So let me tell you what, the milling machine, while it works swimmingly well, and it's been my friend for this whole project, the bed on this milling machine is only 36 inches long. Only, okay? You really need one 6 foot long because the head blocks are 46¼ inches long. And now what happens? Well, so what happens is you have to end up repositioning the head block on here 3 times so you can get it done properly. Kind of a pain. Additionally, you spend a lot of time, I've spent so much time vacuuming these little chips up. Check these guys out. I should sell these. Does anybody want to buy these? These are like metal chips. Actually, the metal chips, this is cool because if you look at these chips, if I can show them to you, take a look at these chips. See the color of those? They're like bronzish, a little bit purplish. That's what you want to see because it means they've been hot. And when they're hot and you're machining steel, you're taking heat away from the tool and away from the steel. That's exactly what we want. But Wayno spent a lot of time vacuuming. Don't tell my wife. She truly believes I can't turn the vacuum cleaner on because I'm too stupid to find the on-off switch. So I don't have to vacuum in the house. But I do spend a lot of time vacuuming. And actually, this you guys won't believe either. What is this thing? What the hell? I thought this was for Halloween. What is this? I've spent so much time sweeping and vacuuming, it's insane. But actually, it's just part of the job. And it's what a lot of people don't see. Oh my God, you just run it on a machine and then mill it and weld it. Well, there's a lot of work that goes to it also as far as cleaning up, vacuuming, and sweeping. So next step here is to weld up the 3rd head block. Before I start welding the 3rd head block though, Phil hit it with a grinder, the right angle grinder, pretty well. I am going to try and clean it up one more time and see if that does any better. So I've got it set up ready to weld, but I'm going to take it apart and probably grind it down and see what happens. So stand by. All right, so 2 things. We're getting ready to go outside and grind this thing down before we put it back together. But what I did here and what I'm doing is I'm building this on this table. And this table, while not an official welding table, is pretty cool. Well, I think it's pretty cool anyway. I don't care. No, I do care what you think. But if you look at it, this table is probably 4 inches thick, and it's cast iron, and it's been machined. So I bought it. Yes, table is 4 inches thick. It's thousands of pounds of cast iron. It's machined. I have no idea what it was. It was cool. It cost me 50 cents at auction. But sadly, DC Armature Works went out of business years ago, and nobody bid on this but me. And I brought it home. It's a great welding table because I guarantee it's flat. Being 4 inches thick, it's probably not flexing a whole lot. You don't want to drop it on your toe. But what we're going to do is we're going to take this little Eastwood grinding thing here, and we're going to grind this thing and try and clean off some of the zinc one more time before I go to weld it. And lastly, one more thing. Everybody needs one of these, okay? Is one of these little yellow hydraulic carts because it goes up and it goes down and it helps move these things. These things, when they're completed, are heavy. Each piece of steel is about 15 pounds per foot. And I got 4 foot, so do the math. 8, 15, 120. And guess what? This geezer has problems lifting it. The hydraulic table makes it easy. So let me get it outside and start grinding. Well, let me get to grinding this guy up a little bit and see if it does any better when I weld it. You'll know right away because welding it's nasty. So, but before I get started, gloves, welding jacket, glasses, and ear protection. You would not believe the little shards that come off of this guy when you're cutting them. They're hot. And I showed you that picture. They're hot. They melt into your sweater. They melt into your shoes. So I got my leather boots on. smart man would bring the work up to his level. Check this out, huh? Gotta love the Chinese. Well, that's easier, isn't it? Don't need to bend over and bother my back. Nice. Let's get here. Get him. So I think we're almost ready to go. And you know what I'll do? A couple of machining. Don't drop it now. Woo-wee. Let's shine it up nicely. All right, so much for grinding this guy. Now, let me bolt it back together, check my measurements, and then weld her up. The fun stuff. Now, let me bolt it back together, check measurements, weld her up. Okay, well, I can't imagine anyone in their right minds would try and make these. But if you do, learn from some of my mistakes. And here's what I'm going to show you. It's a couple things we've learned about doing this project. This here goes onto the carriage. It mounts on the carriage. The spacing between these two guys is 25 inches. The distance between where this makes a 90 degree with this plate and here is 10.25 inches. That's a critical number, okay? Otherwise, the carriage will not line up with this tube, which drives our rack. No, drives the pinion gear, which moves the rack, which is connected to the knee. So whatever mechanism you have, I like doing this, okay? It's a little straight edgy thing here. Make sure you're at 10.25 before you clamp it down. And before I weld it, I'm gonna clamp it down. So I'm gonna check it, I'm gonna clamp it, I'm gonna tack it, check it again, tap it, and even right now it's up a little bit. It's gonna move some, so I'm okay with that. Make sure the thing doesn't wobble too much, okay? Additionally, once you got your 10.25 inches there, okay, put the straight edge on it and make sure things look good here. That's really, really, really important. Moving on to the other end of this thing here, okay? Let's see, this distance between these two guys is 25 inches on the carriage. So we made it 24 and, what is it? 24 and 7/8? No, 24 and, what do we call it? We made it 24 and 24 and 15/16 of an inch is exactly what we made it at. So double check your numbers here that you're good to go on these, because that's an important thing to do. And if you don't have that right, you'll be crying. "24 and 15/16, and that's just a critical number. I'm going to check that before we weld it, that's for sure. I'm going to check this one more time. So what I'll do is I'm going to tack this guy in, tack these guys, these round guys in here, and then I'm going to go back and check that last one. That's an important number, make sure everything's straight. These are these holes. Originally they were threaded. We changed them because we couldn't get the threads straight, but it works out really well because now our spacing here, when I weld this, I've got these two little blocks to measure the spacing, are 1 9/16 of an inch, because our rack is 1.5 inches, so I leave a 1/16 of an inch clearance, okay? And that's a story there. That's nice. That's kind of what I could probably tighten up even more, but I don't think there's any reason to. So let me roll this over to the other side and measure it again and get welding. Alrighty, Mighty. I have no idea how this is going to work, but we're going to find out. So, what I did do, learned my lesson, put some anti-splatter stuff, spray it where you don't want the splatter to stick, because this has a lot of splatter. Gas on, my old trusty Miller 210, and we're welding at its limits for sure. So I'm going to tack these guys on, and what I did is I clamped it here and the bottom to keep it in place. I checked it that it's 90 degrees, perpendicular, that would be for you guys that didn't go to school, and then 10 1/4 inches from here to here. No, here to here. Yeah, here to here. 10 1/4 inches. That's an important number. So this is a little bit nerve-wracking. We'll put a ground right on just in case. Just kidding. Just kidding. Let's see here. I'll let her rip, Tater Chip. Let's see how much splatter I can get on my GoPro. Alright. One nice tack. Actually, that did pretty well. Oh, my fire. So, what I'm doing here is I'm tacking these guys. Once I tack them, then I'll take the clamps off and we'll go from there. So you can't see this very well, but too bad. And I don't know if you can hear it. You can probably hear it better than you can see it. The sound the welder is making, like frying an egg. This sounds pretty good. It's not too contaminated. I can see that, hear that very nicely. Some nasty smoke coming up out of there. I love it. Let me check. Oh, boy. Get off my round rod. Alrighty, almighty. Now, let me tack it on the sides, and then I'll take this clamp off. I'll do it like the guys on his TV shows and just shut my eyes and... Shut your eyes and squeeze the trigger. But what I did do, I'm getting smarter, well, I don't know about that, but I put my welding cloth down here to protect the floor. The floor holds up really well. It's really good tile, regardless. Let's give it the best chance we can. All right. Whew. Now, what I could do is tack these guys in. I got my little runners here. look pretty good. I'm gonna leave one of these guys in here, just so it doesn't get too tight on there. Maybe I will, maybe I won't if I can't get in there. Oops, I think I welded my clamp on. No, I couldn't have done that. Who could be that dumb? Well, it's not dumb. Clamp, tic-tac-toe. I guess I could, let's see, take this guy off, and hopefully he won't go flying. Flying? Because I welded him on. My bad. So remember what I said, the distance between here and here that's where the carriage goes, or this goes onto the carriage. So this, they show on their diagram, 25 inches. I want it 24 9/16. Wow. If I thought I could see better, I'd think I was pretty good at this. Boy, that's nice. It's exactly where I want it. So let me check to make sure it's 90, square and 90, and I don't know what the other words are for that. Oh, you can't see it, but it's square. And then, if that's square, do I need to clamp it down? You know, it's free to do, so I'm going to put a clamp on the top and bottom just to hold that in place, since I'm already set up to do that. I've got my vice grips here, which are set up to do that. And this will guarantee, money back guaranteed. Check it another time. So I learned this from Mr. John Brinkley. John, I hope you're watching these videos. Check it twice. When we built engines, now I say moved it a little bit. When we built engines, we torqued everything twice. People get mad at me, like, why are you doing that twice? You did it once. Because you don't want the thing to come back at you. And we do the same thing here. I'm going to check it twice. And it's moved out a little bit on this side here. Well, the whole thing kind of moved out a little bit when I tightened it down, but that's all right. Check my perpendicularness. Perpendicular now. Check my 25 again. 9/16. 9/16. Double check here. Oh yeah, we're good. Did I say 9/16? How about 15/16? Get your numbers right, dude. Ticky-tack. Ticky-tack. Probably shouldn't be saying that. It sounds gay. That. Double check before we go nuts here with my 1 9/16 inch spacer. We're still happy, and we are happy. Let me clean up my stuff on here and ready to rock and roll again. Welding this nasty, nasty galvanized steel. And we will double check that we're 25 and 15/16. There we are. Ooh, is that nice? Oh, is that good? I like it. I like it like that. So now, this is actually somewhat relatively easy to do. Other than turning it sideways, is wire brush a little bit and hit it with a welder. See all this stuff I'm wire brushing off? That's not normally on it when you weld with a MIG welder, but the zinc contaminates it. Somebody said use flux core. Well, that's a good idea, but I don't have any. So that's the way it goes. It still splatters like the son of a gun. But once the zinc burns off, it seems to be all right. But you gotta be careful. You get some decent penetration on this thing, that's for sure. All right, guys. Well, thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment, give it a thumbs up. This is the third head block we've built. There's actually 4 on here, so I really need to build up one more, but I'm out of angle iron, so we got to go track down some more angle iron. Tomorrow, we'll be putting these guys on.